The early noughties were home to some great cartoon film franchises, but in 2001, a certain franchise was born which had far more layers than all of them put together. That's right, I'm talking about everyone's favorite mean green ogre, Shrek. But we're not just gonna stop at the main man himself. Today we're taking a tour through the entire franchise. Yep, including him. So let's take a look at a film series that started out as a parody and a dig at Disney, but ended up being one of the most beloved and successful franchises of all time. I know all of you know the basics, but let's get some context. Well, for the first film, anyway, we've got Shrek, the grumpy Scottish ogre who lives happily in his swamp as an outcast from society. He knows that it isn't easy being green. Princess Fiona, who is essentially a prize for any warrior brave enough to free her from the highest room in the tallest tower, which is guarded by a dragon. Donkey, who isn't just any donkey. He's a talking donkey who tries to befriend our antisocial ogre. And then we have Lord Farquaad, tiny in size, but a giant of evil. He rules the city-state of Duloc, and he has his sights set on freeing Princess Fiona. There's literally a bajillion other fun, great characters. But these are the core group for the first Shrek film. So where does the greatest fairy tale never told start? Well, actually, in a great place. Shrek is living the dream in his swamp. There's peace, quiet, and all the mud baths that an ogre can take. But this tranquil life soon gets rudely interrupted when a horde of fairy tale creatures show up on his doorstep. We're talking Pinocchio, the three little pigs, the whole gang. Turns out they've been evicted by the fairy tale hating Lord Farquaad. You know, the pint-sized ruler with a serious case of short man syndrome. So determined to reclaim his swamp and his privacy, Shrek sets off to Duloc, Farquaad's ridiculously over-the-top kingdom. He's joined by Donkey, a fast-talking, wisecracking, waffle-loving donkey, who has just escaped the clutches of Farquaad himself after his owner tried selling him to some guards for a quick buck. Speaking of Farquaad, over in Duloc, he's busy torturing Gingy, the gingerbread man.
Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me!
And he's consulting his magic mirror. He learns that to become a true king, he needs to marry a princess. The mirror presents him with options: Cinderella, Snow White. But Farquaad sets his sights on Princess Fiona, conveniently overlooking the mirror's warning about a little thing that happens at night. Shrek and Donkey arrive in Duloc to find this. The pair then also find that a medieval-style tournament is underway, where the winner gets the honor of rescuing Fiona on Farquaad's behalf from the dragon-guarded castle surrounded by lava. Shrek, with Donkey's accidental assistance, wins the tournament, and Farquaad agrees to return his swamp if he rescues his prized princess. Their journey to the castle is a wild one, and ends with some turbulence. Now at the castle, Shrek and Donkey split up to find Fiona, but Donkey finds more than he bargains for when he stumbles upon the castle guardian, the deadly dragon. But this dragon is less deadly and more flirty, as she takes a certain liking to Donkey. Shrek, meanwhile, finds Fiona, who's less than impressed with his ogreish mannerisms. They escape the castle with the love-struck dragon hot on their heels. Fiona is initially thrilled to be rescued, but her excitement fades when she realizes that her rescuer isn't some charming prince with long flowing hair, but he's instead a bald, smelly ogre. In fairness, I'd be a little annoyed too.
Perfect.
As they journey back to Duloc, Shrek and Fiona start to connect, discovering shared interests like onion eating and earwax candle making. Gross.
We've got a big day ahead of us.
But these interests aren't exactly coincidental when it's revealed that Fiona is hiding something. A curse that when the sun sets turns her into an ogre. Basically, that's why she was locked away in the castle, because her parents were embarrassed and wanted her true love to find her, kiss her, and break the curse. One night, while Shrek and Donkey are bonding under the stars, Fiona slips away and hides her transformation in a nearby windmill. Donkey follows her to find that she's transformed into an ogre, and the two break out into a discussion about her curse. Shrek overhears the wrong part of the conversation and misinterprets her words. He believes that she's disgusted by him. Heartbroken, Shrek angrily delivers Fiona to Farquaad, and the next morning, Farquaad quickly arranges their marriage. Back over in Swampland, Shrek's old life of solitude and mud baths doesn't really hit like it used to. And the ogre, who loved being alone, realizes that he actually misses Fiona. Donkey then tells Shrek that he's got it all wrong. That Fiona wasn't talking about him, she was talking about herself. So together, they set off to crash the wedding.
Can we just skip ahead to the I do's?
Go on.
They arrive in the nick of time and stop the ceremony just before Farquaad can kiss Fiona. The sun sets and Fiona transforms into an ogre in front of everybody. But before Farquaad can kill Shrek and imprison Fiona, Dragon bursts in and gobbles him up. Wow, quite an abrupt end for the big bad guy. I love it. Shrek confesses his love for Fiona, and they break the curse. But as her true love is an ogre, Fiona remains one, proving that true love sees beyond looks. They get married and live happily ever after. Well, until Shrek 2. No pressure, of course, but after the ridiculous success of Shrek 1, Shrek 2 has some big ogre boots to fill. The film starts with a fairy tale being told about Fiona's life and her curse, and explains that her mother and father sought the help of a magical fairy godmother who locked her away in a tower, there to await the kiss. Sorry, he'll do it better than me.
There to await the kiss of the handsome Prince Charming.
But when the handsome prince arrived at the castle, he was in for a shock, as there was a bit more hair on Fiona's chinny chin chin than he'd bargained for. Shrek and Fiona, meanwhile, arrive back from their swampy honeymoon, but their happily ever after is soon interrupted by a royal invitation. Fiona's parents, the king and queen of Far, Far Away, want to celebrate their marriage with a grand ball. Man, is it just me, or is it hard to remember Fiona is like a princess sometimes? Maybe I'm just shallow, but she's not very royal, is she? Anyway, Shrek, understandably nervous about how his ogreness will go down with the in-laws, reluctantly agrees to go. But if he thought a meeting with the in-laws was bad, well, a certain motor-mouth mule is about to make things 10 times worse. Donkey had a big fiery argument with Dragon and ended up getting the boot from their home. So he turns to Shrek in his hour of need, wanting to just crash on the sofa for a few nights until he's out of the donkey house? Dragon house? Yeah, you get the idea. But upon hearing Shrek's in-laws' news, he decides he'll tag along to Far, Far Away to meet his extended fam, which goes down just as you'd expect. After a quick tour of the funky town, which is Far, Far Away, the trio finally get into the swing of things and meet Fiona's mom and dad. Her dad, King Harold, is horrified to discover his daughter is married an ogre, and their first dinner descends into a shouting match between him and Shrek, although it does have maybe my favorite moment in the entire series.
Great soup, Mrs. Q.
Embarrassed by her father and Shrek's behavior, Fiona retreats to her room. Shrek, meanwhile, stumbles upon Fiona's childhood diary and discovers her old crush on Prince Charming. Remember him from earlier? Well, unbeknownst to Shrek, Harold is being pressured by Prince Charming and the fairy godmother to get rid of him. I guess Prince Charming's not happy a smelly Scottish ogre has taken his princess bride-to-be. Under the guise of a hunting trip, Harold has set an ambush for Shrek and Donkey as he's hired the deadly assassin. And really, not just any deadly assassin, the deadly assassin. Shrek and Donkey manage to turn the tables and turn Puss to the side of good, where he tells the duo of Fairy Godmother's potion factory where they can swipe a happily ever after potion. A potion that would turn Shrek human.
Fiona's father paid you to do this? The rich king? See.
The unlikely trio infiltrate the factory, and Shrek and Donkey drink the potion and wake up transformed. Shrek is now a dashing human and Donkey a noble steed. Back at the castle, Fiona has also been changed back to her human form by the potion's lingering magic. But the fairy godmother, ever the schemer, sends Charming to woo Fiona.
Shrek?
Aye, Fiona, it is me.
Shrek, convinced that he's doing the noble thing, leaves the castle, believing Fiona will be happier with a handsome prince. Meanwhile, Fiona sees right through Charming's act. Harold tries to set things right, but the fairy godmother's determined to force her plan. Shrek, Donkey, and Puss overhear her threats and end up getting captured, thrown into the dungeon while Fiona faces Charming at the ball. Luckily, Shrek's fairy tale friends stage a daring rescue, storming the castle with a giant gingerbread man, all while the 80s classic Holding Out for a Hero is being sung, one giant magnificent Shrekky set piece. Now, obviously, we can't play the song because of copyright, but this sequence of the film is why I think Shrek 2 is better than the first film. Shrek races to stop Charming from kissing Fiona, but he's too late. However, Fiona isn't falling for Charming's tricks. She delivers a powerful headbutt, showing that she's no damsel in distress. Harold confesses he didn't give Fiona a love potion, and the fairy godmother, enraged, attacks Shrek. In a moment of self-sacrifice, Harold jumps in front of Shrek, causing the fairy godmother's spell to rebound and transform him into a frog. Turns out, he used the potion years ago to marry Lillian. As the potion wears off, Shrek and Fiona become ogres again. Donkey returns to his donkey self, and Harold embraces his froggy fate. With Harold's blessing, the party restarts, celebrating true love in all of its forms. And to top it off, Dragon arrives with a brood of adorable donkey dragon babies, while Donkey and Puss sing their own rendition of Livin' La Vida Loca. What an ending. From the introduction of Puss in Boots to the fairy godmother's set piece, this film really is a laugh-a-minute goldmine of imagination. But the question now is, what's next for Shrek and the gang? Well, the third film, Shrek the Third, begins much the same as the last, with Shrek and Fiona's swampy bliss being shattered by her mom and dad.
Well, somebody better be dying.
but this time they contact them over Harold's ill health, and eventually he croaks. Sorry, I just had to. With no other heir apparent, Shrek and Fiona are next in line for the throne of Far, Far Away. Shrek, however, is terrified of becoming king and insists on finding somebody else to rule. Just as they're about to set sail on their quest, Fiona reveals that she's pregnant.
No, I said
Adding another layer of stress to Shrek's already overwhelmed mind. Their search for a new king leads them to Worcestershire Academy, a prestigious boarding school where they find Arthur Artie Pendragon, Fiona's teenage cousin. Artie is far from the heroic figure that they expected. He's a scrawny, awkward kid, more likely to be found at the bottom of the social ladder than leading a kingdom.
I will restore dignity to my throne.
Meanwhile, back in Far, Far Away, Prince Charming is brewing a new plan for revenge. He gathers a motley crew of fairy tale villains, including Captain Hook, the Evil Queen, and Rumpelstiltskin, to seize the kingdom and claim his happily ever after. Charming and his villainous gang attack the castle, capturing Fiona, Queen Lillian, and all of their fairy tale friends. Fiona, ever the resourceful princess, rallies the others and attempts a daring escape.
And you're gonna be a father. What?
Shrek, Donkey, and Puss in Boots, who have been having their own misadventures, including a body swap incident between Donkey and Puss, learn of Charming's takeover and race back to Far, Far Away. They encounter Captain Hook and his pirates, adding another obstacle to their already perilous journey. Back in the castle, Charming prepares to kill Shrek in a dramatic play. But Shrek, Artie, Donkey, and Puss manage to break free and confront him. Fiona and the other princesses also escape their confinement and join the fight.
Hey, how's it going?
Leading to a chaotic showdown between heroes and villains. Just as the villains seem to have the upper hand, Artie steps forward and delivers a rousing speech, inspiring them to change their ways and embrace their own potential for good. Charming, enraged by this turn of events, lunges at Artie, but Shrek shields him, seemingly taking the fatal blow. However, Charming misses, and Dragon finishes him off by toppling a tower on top of him. That makes two big baddies dropped by Dragon. She's on a roll. With Charming defeated and the villains reformed, Artie finally accepts his destiny and becomes the new king of Far, Far Away. Shrek and Fiona return to their swamp, where they welcome their newborn ogre triplets and adjust to the joys and challenges of parenthood, surrounded by their friends and family. 2007 was quite a year for the Shrek franchise, as after the release of the much-anticipated third Shrek film, they released a small TV Christmas special called Shrek the Halls, which is just such a good name, by the way. The story starts with Donkey's Christmas cheer driving Shrek absolutely crazy, as an ogre just doesn't get the whole holiday thing. But when he realizes how much Fiona and the kids are looking forward to Christmas, he decides to give it a try. The problem is, he has no idea where to start. Shrek heads to a bookstore and grabs a copy of Christmas for Village Idiots, a how-to guide for clueless ogres. He follows the instructions, but everything seems to go wrong. Donkey and the gang show up and wreak absolute havoc,
I will assume the position.
ruining Shrek's attempts at creating a festive atmosphere. They won't let him read A Christmas Story. They mess with his decorations, and they even ruin his carefully prepared Christmas dinner. Shrek, overwhelmed and frustrated, loses his temper and kicks everybody out. Fiona, upset, leaves with the kids. Shrek, realizing he messed up, apologizes to Donkey and the others, and they finally understand why he's been so grumpy. He's never experienced Christmas before and doesn't know what it's all about. Donkey and the gang comfort Shrek,
Okay, I guess I deserve that.
and they all gather around to listen as Shrek reads a heartwarming story about ogre claws, bringing joy and cheer to everybody. Just then, they spot Santa flying across the sky, but their festive moment is interrupted when Gingy freaks out, terrified of Santa because he believes Santa ate his girlfriend Susie. It's a chaotic but heartwarming Christmas Eve in the swamp, and Shrek finally learns the true meaning of the holiday. And now it's time for the fourth, and so far, final Shrek film, Shrek Forever After. It all starts with a fairy tale flashback. King Harold and Queen Lillian, desperate to save Fiona from her tower prison, make a deal with the mischievous Rumpelstiltskin. But just as they're about to sign away their kingdom, a messenger arrives with news that Shrek has already rescued Fiona. Rumpelstiltskin is furious, and he vows revenge. Shrek and Fiona are living the seemingly perfect life in their swamp with their 3 adorable ogre babies. But beneath the surface, Shrek's feeling a little restless. He's tired of the same old routine, the endless diaper changes, and the villagers treating him like a celebrity instead of an ogre. He misses the days when he was feared, not adored. During their kid's first birthday party, Shrek's frustration boils over,
As long as you're not doing anything, how about one of those famous Shrek roars?
Do the roar.
and he has a bit of a meltdown. He storms off, feeling misunderstood and longing for the simpler days. Rumpelstiltskin, sensing an opportunity, swoops in and offers Shrek a tempting deal. one day as a real ogre in exchange for a day from his childhood. Shrek, without reading the fine print, classic Shrek, signs the contract and finds himself in an alternate reality where ogres are feared and hunted, and he never rescued Fiona. He enjoys scaring villagers and causing mischief, but soon realizes this reality is far from ideal. Fiona is a fierce warrior leading an ogre resistance against Rumpelstiltskin, who is now the king of Far, Far Away. And worst of all, Shrek is slowly fading from existence. With the help of Donkey, who doesn't recognize him in this reality, Shrek discovers the only way to break the contract is with true love's kiss. He sets out to win Fiona's heart all over again, but it's not easy. This Fiona is tough, cynical, and doesn't believe in love after years of fighting for survival. Meanwhile, Puss in Boots has really let himself go. He's become a pampered house cat, complete with a ridiculous belly. But when he sees the spark between Shrek and Fiona, he knows he has to help.
That's quite a friend you've got there. I can see why you haven't eaten him.
Shrek and Fiona join the ogre resistance and plan an ambush on Rumpelstiltskin, but things go awry. The Pied Piper, hired by Rumpelstiltskin, captures the ogres with his enchanting music, forcing them to dance uncontrollably. Shrek tries to get Fiona to kiss him, but it doesn't work. She doesn't love him in this reality. Desperate, Shrek turns himself into Rumpelstiltskin, offering himself in exchange for the freedom of the other ogres. He and Fiona are chained together, and Shrek pours his heart out, telling her about their life and children in the real world. Donkey, Puss, and the ogres launch a rescue mission, and chaos ensues. Dragon, who's now Donkey's ex, almost eats him. But Puss saves him. Shrek and Fiona work together to defeat Dragon, and the ogres finally corner Rumpelstiltskin. Just when they think they've won, Shrek starts to disappear. He tells Fiona how much he loves her and their life together, and just before he fades away completely, she kisses him. And it works! The contract is broken, and everything returns to normal. Shrek wakes back up in the real world just before his meltdown at the birthday party. He embraces his family and friends with a newfound appreciation, realizing that his life, even with its challenges, is pretty darn perfect. Little bit of a disappointment, the fact it was all a dream, but it's still fun for sure. There is one more slice of Shrek action still on offer though, and it's a holiday special. Except this special is more of the spooky variety. That's right, it's Scared Shrekless. Shrek's done Christmas, now it's time for some Halloween action. Although the name isn't quite as good, you can't have everything, I guess. The story starts with spooky season well underway in the swamp, and Shrek is in his element. He loves scaring trick-or-treaters with his family, and this year, his little ogre triplets are getting in on the action for the first time. Back at the swamp, Donkey, Puss in Boots, and the rest of the fairy tale gang try to scare Shrek, but he's not easily spooked. So Shrek challenges them to a scary story contest in Lord Farquaad's abandoned castle. The last one to get scared, Shrekless, wins the coveted title of King of Halloween. Gingy kicks things off with a spooky tale of gingerbread zombies. But his story takes a dark turn when he claims the gingerbread zombies actually ate him.
Maybe I'm not pretty enough. I can be pretty.
The three little pigs are terrified, and they run off. Shrek calls Gingy out for his fib, and Gingy slinks off in embarrassment. Puss and Donkey try to outdo each other with a psycho-inspired story, but they end up interrupting each other and making a mess of it. Puss claims a giant waffle monster ate Donkey, but Donkey pops out of the waffle's mouth and unleashes Puss's worst fear, a spray bottle. Finally, it's Shrek's turn. He tells a chilling tale about babysitting a possessed Pinocchio, complete with levitating furniture and creepy voices. Turns out that Pinocchio is being controlled by none other than Jiminy Cricket, who gets squashed in the end. Pinocchio freaks out and runs off when Shrek shows him a real cricket. With only Shrek and Donkey left, Shrek decides to wait for Lord Farquaad's ghosts. Suddenly, spooky things actually start happening. Donkey's convinced that it's a prank, but Shrek insists that he's not doing it. Then, a knight in shining armor appears, scaring Donkey out of the castle. Turns out that Fiona and the triplets were behind these spooky shenanigans. It's a spooky, silly, and heartwarming Halloween celebration in the swamp. And that's where the mean green ogre machine story comes to a close. For now, anyway. But don't worry, franchise isn't over yet. It's time for our favorite ferocious feline to step into the limelight. That's right, it's Puss in Boots. The actual events of the first Puss in Boots movie is set before the masked marauder met Shrek and the gang. Heck, he isn't even a fully fledged assassin yet. So with that in mind, the movie kicks off with Puss in Boots making a daring escape from a cage, leaving behind a smitten female feline. He struts into a town where he gains the respect of some tough-looking thugs and learns about two notorious outlaws, Jack and Jill. They possess some magic beans. These beans hold the power to grow a beanstalk that leads to a castle filled with golden eggs.
Show him the golden eggs.
No!
Puss tries to steal the beans, but another masked cat interrupts him. They have a dance-off turned sword fight, and Puss is surprised to discover that his rival is actually a female cat named Kitty Softpaws. She's working with Humpty Dumpty. Puss's estranged childhood friend who proposes they team up to steal the beans and get the golden eggs. Puss initially refuses, still bitter about a past betrayal. He recounts their childhood at an orphanage, where they were like brothers, getting into trouble together.
Humpty and Puss, brothers forever.
But after Puss became a hero for saving an old woman, Humpty tricks him into a bank robbery, and Puss is forced to flee, leaving Humpty to be arrested. Humpty begs for a second chance, and Puss reluctantly agrees to help, but only to save the town and his adoptive mother. The trio sets off to find Jack and Jill, eventually tracking them down in a desert canyon. Kitty and Puss infiltrate the outlaws' wagon, but their mission is complicated by Kitty's secret. She has no claws. They manage to grab the beans, but a chaotic chase ensues and Puss nearly falls to his doom. Humpty comes to the rescue and they escape with the beans. After planting the beans, a giant beanstalk erupts from the ground, carrying them up into the clouds. They reach a castle in the sky, home to a terrifying beast that turns anyone who looks at it to stone. They navigate the treacherous castle, grab the golden goose, which lays the golden eggs, and make a daring escape.
Can you imagine laying one of these? Ouch.
Back on the ground, they celebrate their success, but Humpty reveals his true motive: revenge. He betrays Puss and hands him over to the authorities. Puss is heartbroken to realize Kitty was also part of the deception. In jail, Puss learns that the beast is actually the mother goose, and she'll destroy the town to get her baby back. He escapes, with Kitty's help, and confronts Humpty, convincing him to help him save the town. They lure the mother goose to a bridge, which collapses under her weight. Puss makes a heroic sacrifice, letting go of Humpty to save the baby goose. Humpty is transformed into a golden egg, and the mother goose takes him back to the castle. Puss and Kitty escape the authorities, and Kitty hints that their adventure isn't over. The film ends with Humpty, back in his egg form, riding the goose in the clouds, and Puss and Kitty sharing a passionate kiss. And that brings us on to the last film in the whole franchise. Oh god, he's here. In all seriousness though, Puss in Boots' Last Wish really did come completely out of left field, but with a colorful cast of vile villains, a brand new art style, and a big bad that is both literally a big bad wolf, but also death. This film was a roaring critical success, and relit the fire in the fandom who now want more from this franchise. So, without further ado, let's see how Puss spends his last wish. Oh, and just for some quick context, the events of this film take place sometime after Shrek Forever After. The film begins with Puss living the high life, partying in a governor's mansion when a giant crashes the festivities. He managed to subdue the behemoth, but he gets crushed by a bell in the process. When he wakes up, he receives some shocking news from the doctor. He's used up 8 of his 9 lives. He's died 8 times already, from bullfights gone wrong to exploding cannons. Now, with only 1 life left, Puss is facing his own mortality. He tries to brush it off, but after a close call with a mysterious black hooded wolf in a duel, you know who he is.
Pick it up.
He reluctantly decides to hang up his boots and become a house cat. He ends up at Mama Luna's, a cozy home for cats where he tries to embrace the quiet life. But adventure calls once again when he learns about the Wishing Star, a magical entity that can grant wishes. The map to the star is being delivered to Big Jack Horner, a greedy collector of magical artifacts. Puss, seeing a chance to restore his lost lives, teams up with Kitty Softpaws, his former flame and partner in crime, to steal the map. They're joined by Peritto, a friendly dog disguised as a cat, and together they embark on a quest to find the Wishing Star. The map leads them to the Dark Forest, a magical realm that shifts and changes depending on who holds the map. Puss and Kitty face a series of challenges, including a terrifying encounter with Death himself, the black-hooded wolf, who's determined to claim Puss's last life. Puss, for once, is genuinely scared. He runs from death, disappointing Kitty, who's wanted him to face his fears all of his life. Puss finally confesses that he left Kitty at the altar years ago, a decision he deeply regrets. Kitty overhears and reveals she never made it to the altar either, feeling unworthy of Puss's love. They manage to reconcile and continue their quest. They reach the Wishing Star, but Puss's desire to wish for more lives clashes with Kitty's morals, and then Goldilocks and the 3 bears, also seeking the star, interrupt them, and a chaotic fight breaks out. Puss manages to get the best of the bears, but another fight is quickly upon them when Death appears.
What's the matter? Lives flashing before your eyes?
But this time, he stands his ground. Death, impressed by his newfound courage, spares him, but warns that they will meet again. Puss, realizing the error of his ways, gives the map to Kitty, but she doesn't need it. They confess their love for each other, and just when they think that it's over, Jack Horner returns.
I was worried for a second I would come out naked.
Having grown into a giant thanks to a magical cookie, the Wishing Star is destroyed in the final showdown, taking Jack with it. Goldilocks finds a family with the bears, and Puss and Kitty rekindle their romance. Puss, Kitty, and Peritto now known as Team Friendship, set sail for new adventures, heading to a land where Puss's friends are, a land you all might know. A land that isn't that far, far away. And there we have it. The Shrek franchise comes to a close. For now, anyway. As we've just seen, there's some trouble brewing in Far, Far Away, and hopefully in 2026 we'll get to see the famous Scottish ogre, Fiona, Donkey, Puss, and all the madcap crew in full force. I wonder what the plot will be. Will we see the return of the fairy godmother? Will Death rear his head once more? Or maybe, we'll finally get to see the Muffin Man? Yes, the Muffin Man. You know, the one who lives on Drury Lane. Anyway, let me know down below what you think is next in store for Shrek. And leave a suggestion for another franchise for me to cover. Oh, and one more thing. Technically is a Puss in Boots TV series. It's not really considered canon though, has poor animation, and the great Antonio Banderas doesn't reprise the role. But if you're desperate for more, you can always give it a go. But for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time. See ya.